The H1B guy here, and today the H1B guy news for the week ending July 24th, 2020. On July 21st of 2020, in a post on Center for Immigration Studies, CIS.org, written by Jessica Vaughn, titled Senate Action on Big Tech Green Card Bill S386, there's an embedded video debate from the U.S. Senate floor on S386 between Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Mike Lee. I'd like for you guys, if you can, to watch from the 7-minute 20-second mark to the 9-minute and 20-second mark. You'll see where Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois discusses his stance on the real problem with S386. He specifically targets the H-1B visa and the 50-50 rule with a 3-year timeline as the reason to hold up the vote. Senator Lee from Utah wants to modernize the immigration code and bring equity to a system that unduly burdens immigrants based on their country of origin. He wants to eliminate the employment-based green card backlog. This piece of legislature is called the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act. Go ahead and watch at the 20-minute mark to the 21-minute and 25-second mark. You'll see Senator Lee makes claims that he does not want to unduly burden H-1B workers already in the U.S. Thus, the need to transition period for the 50-50 rule to be 3 years. He also goes on to state that S386 does not allocate for increased green cards, as noted by Senator Durbin. What do you think about this debate? Which side are you on? Senator Durbin's or Senator Lee's? In an article written on July 21st, 2020, by Stuart Anderson for Forbes titled, Trump Cuts Legal Immigrants by Half and He's Not Done Yet. The opening paragraph states, by next year, Donald Trump will have reduced legal immigration by 49% since becoming president. That will have significant repercussions for the nation's economic growth, according to a new analysis. The cuts to legal immigration have come in several categories, and it appears that the Trump administration is not finished restricting immigration. So we're going to focus on the employment-based preferences portion of this article. The numbers provided show the data and the from 2016, which is actual data, and then the projected data for 2020. In 2016, there were 137,893 persons that obtained lawful permanent residence. And the projection for fiscal year 2021 is 220,000, for a net gain of 82,100, or 60% total. So it's very interesting here to see that the only category where there is actually an increase is the employment-based category. So the argument here would be to state that it isn't a surprise based on the number of individuals in the green card backlog for employment-based preferences. If we go back to the article just mentioned from CIS.org, where we're talking about S386 and the green card backlog at the front and center of the debate. Great stuff from Stuart. You know, he continues on in another article written on July 22nd of 2020 for Forbes that's titled H1B Visa Lawsuit, Trump Takes Sledgehammer to Immigration Law. Talk about a headline, Sledgehammer to Immigration Law. Stuart goes on to write that another H1B lawsuit was filed this week. This time we see, quote, the plaintiffs in the case are the National Association of Manufacturers, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Retail Federation, TechNet, and Intrax, with Paul Hughes and Michael Kimberly of McDermott, Will, and Emery as counsel. The business organizations argue that the decision to block H-1B visa holders who work primarily in computer-related occupations on, quote, unemployment grounds was not rational given the economic data available at the time of the proclamation. The plaintiffs cited a National Federation for American Policy analysis of Bureau of Labor Statistics data that showed the unemployment rate for individuals in computer-related occupations remained stable in the United States between January and May of 2020. Quote, the last 2 weeks of March saw record numbers of new unemployment filings, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported a 14.7% total unemployment rate in May, note the plaintiffs. That spike in unemployment was not distributed evenly across occupations. While certain jobs in tourism, hospitality, and related service industries were hit hardest, an analysis of Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that the unemployment rate in computer occupations decreased from 3% in January of 2020, before the economic impacts of the virus were felt, to 2.8% in April of 2020 and to 2.5% in May of 2020. I think one thing to note though from this data is that H1B workers in the US that are not currently working are not counted in the unemployment category. Do you believe that Section 212F gives the president unlimited authority to bar non-citizens from entering the US whenever he pleases? What are your thoughts on one of the final points from the article? Quote, while Donald Trump has called his immigration policies, quote, America first, businesses argue the policies put America last. Do you agree with this statement? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. On July 23rd of 2020, in an article written by PTI for Outlook India titled, U.S. trade bodies file lawsuit against suspension of new H-1B visas till the end of 2020, this article is going to cover a lot that was just covered in the Forbes article written by Stuart Anderson, but I wanted to highlight some of the article. As you know, this is an international media outlet, so I think it's worth noting. Quote, 5 top trade bodies, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and National Association of Manufacturers, have filed a lawsuit challenging the presidential proclamation suspending for the rest of the year new non-immigrant visas that include the H-1B, the most sought after among Indian IT professionals. The lawsuit seeks to overturn these sweeping and unlawful immigration restrictions that are unequivocal, quote, not welcome, signed to the engineers, executives, IT experts, doctors, nurses, and other critical workers who help drive the American economy, said U.S. Chamber of Commerce CEO Thomas Donahue. Quote, left in place, these restrictions will push investment abroad, inhibit economic growth, and reduce job creation, he said. Ahead of the presidential proclamation, Donahue, in a letter to the White House, had said that there were many other sectors of U.S. economy that rely upon the contribution of foreign nationals working in America. According to the lawsuit, denying American businesses access to international labor markets is inflicting swift and severe harms. Companies are unable to move employees who have developed special expertise outside the United States into domestic roles where they would otherwise help expand operations, develop new products, and contribute to the hiring of domestic workers, it said. I think we also need to note that they would be tax-paying residents here in the U.S., right? I mean, that just goes without saying that it has a significant economic impact. As alluded to last week in the H1B Guy news for July 17th of 2020, where we covered the article in Forbes from Stuart Anderson that discussed how more lawsuits would be forthcoming against the presidential proclamation. So here we see the second, right? I think it's also worth mentioning that it's very interesting to see the trade bodies and associations getting into this lawsuit mix against the presidential proclamation. Honestly, I find this move to be very intriguing. There's no doubt that these associations and trade bodies employ lobbyists. A very simple and quick search on followthemoney.org may help us unveil even more where the lines will be drawn on this political battlefield in reference to this topic going into November's election. What do you think about this lawsuit as it relates to the H-1B landscape? It appears that the trade associations and businesses alike are, quote, lawyering up in order to challenge the president's authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act, INA, Section 212F, which we previously mentioned. This is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out over the next few weeks. And finally, in an article written on July 24th of 2020 by Asian News International and posted by Kanishka Sarkar for the Hindustan Times titled Indian H-1B visa holders group in U.S. holds rally to demand immigration reform. Here we finally see some media coverage, albeit international, on the organized protests surrounding S-386. Quote, these are tax-paying, law-abiding, skilled immigrants who are already in the country for many years. Doctors, engineers, scientists, professors. They are stuck in a long green card backlog which will span 150 years. What we are doing here is protesting Senator Durbin's hold on the bill yesterday, and he is making sure that Indian immigrants who are already here would not get equal treatment under the law, which is unfair, said Aman Kapoor, Immigration Voice president. Quote, Immigration Voice organization banded together outside the Capitol with strong sentiments on why the Fairness for High-Skilled Immigrants Act should be passed in order to remove the current 7% per country cap on employment visas. Quote, another key demand of the group was that the green card backlog must be cleared as opposed to the current wait time. That could run into decades for employment-based green cards for Indians. As we mentioned on the H1B Guy Live this past Wednesday, there really hasn't been a lot of media coverage on S386 protests. Really good to see that because these protests started last weekend and had very minimal coverage other than a lot of independent news outlets and extensive social media. Here's hoping that these protests actually get the coverage and attention it deserves. What do you guys think about the protests surrounding S386? Leave me a comment below and let me know what your opinion is. I would love to hear from you. As always, thank you guys for watching these videos. I wanted to mention that the post is live on the h1bguy.com. If you can check that out. As always, we try to bring you the H1B Guy news every Friday for each week ending. Really would appreciate it if you would give this video a like and subscribe to the H1B Guy if you like what I'm doing here and if you like this content. Your support over the last month has been truly overwhelming, and I am so grateful. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.